I got hired by WWE, I invented MVP. As a matter of fact, I had a number of tryouts. I've been booked as an extra a number of times. And one day, my frustration just got to a point where I was like, to hell with this, man. And I went to the vice president of talent relations, who was at that time was John Laurinaitis. And I went, hey, Johnny, you got a minute? He said, oh, I'm busy, kid. And he kept walking. I said, Johnny, can I get a minute? Can I get 30 seconds? Just 30 seconds. And he stopped. He goes, okay, kid, you got 30 seconds. And I said, tell me what the fuck I got to do to get hired here, man. Tell me what you want. You tell me what you want from me, and I'll give it to you. And initially, he was taken aback, like, who are you talking to me like that?
You talking to me.
But he saw it was coming from a passionate place. And he said, kid, we like characters. He said, give us a character that you can do that we don't already have and get back to me. And he walked off. And I remember feeling like, that wasn't the answer I was looking for. Like, tell me specifically, but he gave me the answer. And at that time, I was working on South Beach. I was doing bodyguard work, nightclub security at Mansion at the time.
Oh, Mansion.
And, yeah. And I used to see these professional athletes show up to the club, and I would see like Hall of Fame legends like Shaq, Dr. J, Barry Sanders, who is not a club guy, but just randomly he was at living room one night, and he hung out most of the time outside for a long time talking to me about football. And I would see these like, sports gods show up. And they were so humble and so cool. And then I would see like these third-round draft picks show up with a whole entourage full of people in shorts and sneakers. And this is man, do you know who I am? And it sometimes was kind of embarrassing, like, dude, stop, man, stop, And it was, this was during the time of show me the money, and you had Ocho. Jerry Maguire, yeah, and you had Ocho Cinco, and, you had all of these. There was no shortage of information, footage, news from athletes on ESPN that were extravagant, boisterous, acting out, Ron Artest going into the crowd to fight somebody, yeah, right. Famously, one of my all-time, I'm a Canes fan, but I'm a big Georgetown Hoyas fan. So Allen Iverson, practice? You talking about practice?
Yeah.
That had never been done in professional wrestling. It was a relatively new phenomenon. And I took my experiences from South Beach and ESPN and whatnot, and I crafted this character called MVP, Montel Vontavious Porter. And I wrote up a treatment with chapters and everything explaining who the character was, photos of me in a suit, how the character dressed. And this came because, fortunately for me, Ricky Santana was a very good friend of mine. And if you don't know who Ricky Santana is, he's a guy from the territories back in the day. Look him up. He worked at WCW for a while as well. And he and John Laurinaitis were very good friends. When Ricky was an over guy in the territories, John slept on his couch. And I told Ricky, I said, man, I got this idea, but I'm scared they'll steal it from me. Ricky said, I give you my word. I pitched him the idea. And he said, man, that smells like money to me. He called Johnny. Johnny gave him his word. We won't rip the kid off. I spoke to Johnny, and Johnny said, it sounds great. Give me 20 storyline ideas. So I literally pitched. I wrote 20 vignettes and storyline. So I sent like a whole treatment.
And how long was this after you and John Laurinaitis' combo?
Days.
Really?
When he said,
quick,
get back to me, put something together and get back to me, I jumped on it because, preparation, they say success is where preparation and opportunity meet. So the opportunity is there. Now do the preparation. So within, I'd say a week or two, I had this thing ready for him and they loved it. And I actually spoke in last episode about Vince seeing the promo that I sent in with that package that made them say, get this guy hired. So in my case, I had a lot of input because I was the guy that pitched MVP to them. They liked the MVP concept. They got it. They understood it right away. And the fact that I pitched so much storyline content and ideas, The writers loved it because it made their job easier.
So MVP is your intellectual property.
And MVP is my intellectual property.
Okay.
And I'll say this, man, to the credit of WWE, Vince, John Laurinaitis, the people who were in control when I came in, if they wanted to, they could have taken it from me. They could have said, sign it over to us. Because I had no leverage, But for whatever reason, they chose not to. And they allowed me to maintain ownership of Montel Vontavious Porter MVP. They never tried to muscle me out of it. So I've been able to make a career off of MVP and not the guy formerly known as,
Right.
I didn't have to switch from MVP to VIP or, whatever.
The ball superstar.
Yeah, so I'll always be grateful for that. But if Vince had an idea for you, then that was it.
Okay.
One of the things that comes to mind is LA Knight and Maximum Male Models.
Right.
But he was able to shake that off, overcome it, and now he's wildly over, which is great.